Hello everyone, this is the third of the 5 video series on farmers' protests. In this video, we will talk about different viewpoints of government and farmers with supporting examples and data.
uh, I would say like the government is thinking in this sense. The best case scenario, the farmers are worried about the worst case scenario. So let us discuss issue by issue on each of them. So first is contracts. Farmers' concern is contracts will be one-sided as farmers have less bargaining power and small farmers do not understand legal issues. Whereas the government thinks contracts will provide a means of assured income. And why do they think that is? Because the contracts can give an options trading thing for agricultural commodities. Let us look into details and what evidence do we have in this part. So, is this contract farming a new thing? It is not a new concept. It is still there in Indian agriculture before these acts. So, and we will look into how beneficial is contract farming. So, giving examples like PepsiCo, McDonald's, Reliance, Life Seeds, Nestle are all doing contract farming. Let's look at a specific example of PepsiCo. PepsiCo is procuring potatoes in a district called Sangrur in Punjab, which is the northwestern geographical region in India. Uh, so the good point is, due to their involvement and since this is an industry, they have introduced efficient and labor-saving farming methods. And this has led to crop diversification as well as export of commodities. So there is a good part of a corporate being involved in a contract farming. Whereas the downside is they have very strong contract terms, which requires grading and quality requirements, as well as when they provide certain sets of fertilizers or pesticides to maintain the crops, they are actually in their contracts mentioning that the cost has to be borne by the farmer. When I'm saying the grading and the quality requirements, the requirements are because this company is procuring potatoes for making chips, potato chips, and they want a certain sized potato, and they reject the other lot. So it's a quite aggressive, I would say, quality requirement. So the next one is only educated farmers understand the terms and conditions of the contract and actually keep the written contract. Other farmers actually do not know or not aware of the written contract. They just are doing it. So and these contracts do not allow to sell the produce in open markets. So there are positive sides and there are negative sides uh, about the contract farming. But if we look at how open this will make, like how, will contract farming make um, um, allow the farmers to go to open markets? The this is a very closed contract. Like they are not allowing it to do that. So let us go to the next issue. Is open market good for agriculture and reducing restriction on essential commodities? Farmers' concerns. No taxes outside mandis will eventually deregulate mandis. The real losers of this effect will be small and marginal farmers. Whereas the government think more choices to sell and more options to produce, which will eventually increase farmers' income. Uh, So the farmers are worried about like if since there is an option of purchasing outside mandis and there is no tax, so this is going to reduce states' revenue and which will deregulate mandis eventually. Even if and therefore uh, the small and marginal farmers who will not be able to sell outside will be the real losers. Uh, so if we go to the next part, reducing restriction on essential commodities, farmers think that this will promote hoarding and reduce purchase prices. Whereas the government think this promotes investment in cold storage facility and logistical infrastructure. So let us look into a state-led deregulation of mandis in Bihar, which happened in 2006. So these are this is the summary of what happened at that time. So P Sainath, which is He is a noted journalist and founder of Archives of Rural India, which is a digital platform for the voice of rural people and farmers. He observed that private firms only tend to buy when the prices were low. They never bought when the prices were high from the farmers. And there was no significant increase in the income of farmers, no improvement in agricultural infrastructure. So this is what history tells us, which is actually validating that the concerns of the farmers are real. And let us look into another example, which is privatization of sugarcane industry 1998. Here, farmers are so after the privatization of sugarcane industry in UP, Uttar Pradesh, again a northern state in India, and UP is well known for sugarcane produce. So farmers after so many years are still agitating in UP for fair prices, and there is no substantial rise in income. So privatization didn't play a good role in getting those fair prices, and again farmers' fears or concerns are sounding real. So I will, like I put it as if like these are failed projects and were led by state. Let us look into this issue of minimum support price. Farmers' concerns: farmers will lose MSP sooner or later due to deregulated mandis reducing their income. Small farmers' limited knowledge on price dynamics can be exploited. Government's view is farmers will get MSPs in mandis. Like government is trying to say that even if we are providing another option, this current system of MSPs in mandis will still continue. That's what the government view is, and they are going to create price information portals which will help them get better price. But the farmers think here that because there will be no tax collection, the mandis will be deregulated eventually, some in some or the other way. So they are going to lose MSP even if the government promises it. Now it is not going to be there because of the way the economic works and because way the revenue structure works. So let us look into some examples like where the MSP benefited and where the M where. So if you look at the average national income, monthly income of an agricultural household, it is 6,426 rupees. However, like in Punjab and Haryana, if you see that that's a green number, and these are the states where MSP is actually practiced. 65% of wheat and rice which is being procured in these states is due to MSP, and MSPs have benefited farmers of Punjab and Haryana to get better income than others, which is three times more than the average income of other farmers all over India. So it is these farmers who are going to be affected if these mandis are deregulated, and not just, since we have seen like it is the small and marginal farmer who is going to be affected because that comprises most of the farmers, and removing MSP will eventually reduce their income. So like there is if MSP is removed, the MSP should not be seen as a wrong thing. Like this is helping Punjab and Haryana farmers. So what is the meaning of all this? What I've shown you in numbers on in examples. So let's look at the big picture again. Let's assume there is a 20% chance of farmers' fears to be true in the future, which the history says there is a good chance. We have evidences from 1998 and 2006. What would it mean in that case? It would mean that affecting annual incomes of 150 to 160 million farmers and reducing their income. So, shouldn't a policy or a farming act which affects a huge population be passed in parliament with the proper debate with all stakeholders? Shouldn't farmers, big or small, deserve at least the right to being heard when their livelihood is at stake? Shouldn't they have the right to protest something that affects their livelihood? I think the farmers have answered all three questions with a resounding yes, and they have peacefully protested about these farming acts for 2 months from September to November. However, the government ignored their protests, after which they marched towards Delhi